Hello and welcome to Find Your Freedom, a podcast dedicated to helping you truly find freedom in all aspects of life. Join your hosts and their expert guests as they share practical tips and strategies for finding more freedom in your life. It's time to take control of your life and create the future you want. Let's find your freedom. Here are your hosts, Lenny the Boss and Omid Rad Investor.
Boom, boom, boom. We are back with another exciting episode of Find Your Freedom. And for the individuals that's watching this one, you are going to be in for a treat. You're going to be in for a treat if you're listening as well. But before we get into our next friend, our next guest to the episode, you know we have a absolutely free kit for you. You just go to www.findyourfreedomrei.com/freedom kit. Once again, www.findyourfreedomrei.com/freedom kit is easily downloadable. Go there, download it. It's free. Now, we also have a retreat coming up in September, and we're going to leave a link down in the show notes. All right. Go to the link. You'll find out all about it. It's limited seats because it's going to be very hands-on, intimate. So you're going to want to join once you click that link. All right. With that being said, man, check this out. Right. So if you're in the STR space, you know that regulations means everything to your business. And if you're watching, the news or you online, you're hearing all these towns getting hit with all these regulations, and we got someone who is the regulation buster here today with us. All right. He liberated nearly over 1 million people from the STR and the Airbnb bans, right? He's an advocate. He's an advocate for you, for us, for me, anyone that's in this space, right? And the cool thing about it is he is our STR hero. So Theron, how you feeling, my brother?
I mean, hey, after that intro, let's just say I'm feeling powerful.
All right, for those that can't see this, Theron, he's flexing. He has his Superman outfit on. Everywhere he goes, he's the STR Superman hero for the industry, and he wears his cape. He wears the whole entire outfit. So check us out on YouTube. You can clearly see it. So, Theron, before we get into anything, what we like to always do, if you could, share just a little bit of background for the audience so we can just jump right into the mix.
For sure. So, I mean, this is what I love to talk about because first, people see this and they see, they see me, they see the organization, what we've done. And I don't want them to think that, oh, you can't do this too. My goal is for all of you, if you want to be STR heroes, because that's what we need to stop these bad regulations and have sensible regulations. But what I like to call this is my origin story. And, every superhero has their origin story, so happy to share. So, I started off with renting out a room in a place that I was renting just to pay bills for another business that I was trying to start. And I was an engineer, but trying to not be an engineer because I realized, oh man, hey, corporate's cool, but not for me. Okay. Clearly the dress code is not the same. Right. So, I was, I had a dream, I had a mission, and I was trying to find, my place in the entrepreneurial landscape. And I started off through humble beginnings, renting out an extra room in a place that me and my roommate were renting. And, that went, decently well. And it just showed me, oh, well, let me look more into real estate, hospitality. Let's actually get knowledgeable about this stuff. But, I went from that to leaving my job, starting a short-term rental arbitrage business in Detroit, Michigan. And, went all the way into it and started off with 3 units, got to 10 units in about a year's time and some change. And this is when everything changed for me in a bad way at the beginning. Like first, I had such a great thing that happened to me, which was, oh, I finally found, my place. I felt like I found this business that, my customers loved. I felt like I did all of the work. I looked up the regulations, everything that I could think of. I felt that I was doing a good thing, right? And So I was able to leave my job and replace my income. And then literally a couple of months later, everything changes. I get a email from a friend of mine that sent me a news report that Detroit was going to ban short-term rentals effectively in about 2 weeks. So, I went from, having this business, being successful and just tasting success and feeling like I found my place in the world to about to just lose it all in 2 weeks. 10 properties to 0 in 2 weeks. And so, I went through the 5 stages of grief or 4. I went through 4 of them because the last one is acceptance. I know that much. And that's what I decided not to do. But I went through all the other ones. I was shock, disbelief, maybe shed a couple tears, at least on the inside. I was devastated. But at the end, of reading that and kind of going through these thoughts in my head, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna back down from this. I'm gonna really, if I'm in this and I'm serious about this, I'm going to, finish this strong. I'm gonna, see what can be done. If I get banned, then I get banned. If I don't, then I know, I didn't leave anything on the table. So that's what I did. And I went from almost losing my entire business to, in about 4 months' time, thankfully, we were able to get a little bit of a delay. That 2 weeks turned into a little bit of a delay. But in 4 months' time, we got the ban pulled completely. And we learned how to fight these bans, how to properly advocate. And what's most important to me, it's really how to establish the future and permanence in the short-term rental industry. Because this isn't about us versus the government, us versus the neighborhoods. We're here to be a part of the neighborhoods and a part of the government and keeping those bad actors that we all don't like out of the industry and those bad guests. So I learned how to stop the ban, but also work with the government and show them that we are a force for good and not a force for evil. We're the heroes, not the villains. Okay, that's my whole thing.
So I want to interrupt you right there. I think that's super powerful. So you're in a relationship with, your employer, so your job, because you want some certain level of stability, and then you transition into entrepreneurship. So you do the breakup and you pursue entrepreneurship, and there's way more risk. So it's like, having a relationship with somebody that's maybe unstable. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. And you
That's
finally
right.
got that stable. So you work through that whole process. You got it stable. You got to move in. You're feeling good. Everything's going well. And then something like this happens where then you hear, hey, there's a potential ban. It's going to impact this relationship that you've established for so long. And then I hear you then kind of, pivot, and you start building a relationship with, um, the local government, and finding ways to kind of find some common ground. So walk us through that process, because I think that's scary. Most people, when they hear a ban, they're going to
Mhm.
run. It's
Yeah.
almost like an STD. Like, you hear a ban, it's like an STD. Like, you're going to run from it instead of trying to like work with it. So maybe
Like,
explain to
you don't
us
want no
like
parts of it.
what that
Yeah,
process looked like. Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. And real quick, I like the way that you put the whole relationship thing because, for all those listeners out there, we're dealing with we're dealing with our significant other, like your business could be like your girlfriend, who could be sometimes a cruel mistress or something like that. But, you have the right relationship. You come at it the right way. You give in the right way, and you get in return. But then what happens with regulations, what I really like about what you said is that, this comes out of left field. This isn't your girlfriend breaking up with you. This is like some like a police officer come and say, hey, your girlfriend's she's gotta leave the country. No, we don't allow,
Yeah.
we don't allow I don't know, these girls here, sorry, we're separating this. They're not allowed in this country, and she's got to go. So, but like through no fault of what you did in the relationship, or what you did with what your short-term rentals did, because you could be the great actor that's getting punished for the bad actors out there. You are now separated from your business. So I think that's a really good way to put it. It's like you thought you had everything solved, and then somebody just snatches your girlfriend. It's like, oh my God, okay, well, what's going on here? The lowest lane gets snatched, and now I got to go
Yeah.
handle business. Oh man, I'm keeping that one. Hey, Omi, can I have that one? Can I? that was
That's
good.
all you. That's all you.
Oh,
That's all you.
all right, we in here. Okay,
You're the
good
hero.
stuff.
You're the
I'm gonna
hero
give
here.
you credit. I'm gonna give you the credit. Anytime I say that, Omi brought this up.
You're
Yeah.
saving lives, man. So let me give the audience just some climax on how we met, right? So we're Umid and I we're down at an event. I don't know, it's like well over 1,000 people at this event, and Umid and I we at the door, and we're doing like these interviews, for Find Your Freedom people, and like we're at the door, kind of staying away from all the entertainment. The next thing I know, the front door just flies open, right? And all this air come in, and everybody, like the whole 1,000 people, are kind of just looking like, what is going on at the front door? And then you just see Superman just walk through the door.
Sorry
He's
for that
Darren, and
turbulence. I mean, my bad.
the cool part about it is like Darren is like 6'5". He's like this muscle bound dude for real, right? And he got like this Superman outfit on. I feel so bad, Nubi. I'm not sure if you even noticed. I stopped interviewing the person that I was interviewing.
Oh, now I feel bad for them. Oh man.
And I'm like, dude, you gotta come over here and give us like this interview. And he did. He came over, like he's like coming in. His cape is like in the wind. He's like flexing on everybody, like hugging him, and people just like, wow, like who is this STR hero that's here like to save it? Because the event was an STR event, so it was kind of cool on our introduction. But let me ask you, man, it's United States is huge,
Mhm.
right? And there are, STRs all through the United States. And once and foremost, we just want to thank you for your services of helping out with bans and regulations.
My pleasure.
So I guess, like, how do you pick and choose
Mhm.
where to go, what to fight, and what does that look like?
So that's the thing. It's multifaceted because we do a ton of research and we have a database of close to 3,000 short-term rental regulations now in different jurisdictions. And so we try to keep track of what we can and look into different situations, but we really thrive off of word of mouth in terms of somebody reaching out to us, because I mean it does multiple things. If they're reaching out, we know it's something that is probably recent, something that is it probably lends validity to us going in there and stopping it, because it took somebody to come and talk to us. It's like, oh, this must be a big deal. They care about it a lot, obviously, and this is probably, if it's affecting them, it's probably affecting a lot of those people in the city or area of jurisdiction in a bad way. So it really comes from our research, but also from word of mouth from people who reach out to us, which is why we really try to get the word out and get the like spread our message far and wide. That's why we have the suit. Like, regulations are boring at times, right? I mean, it's a bunch of legalese. It's the stuff that isn't really related to operating your business. It's not directly paying you, so people don't think about it as much. So we have to bring attention to this however we can. So the more people that know about it, the more people can reach out to us when something affects them. Because it's really not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when. If your area does not have regulations that are established and sensible already, then that means that it's likely going to change at some point in the future. So we want to be in people's Rolodex to hit us up when situations come up.
So, well, so can you maybe like give us a little bit of insight about the Dallas market and what's going on? I mean, I'm hearing like
For
ban
sure.
and people are going crazy, and then but you have multifamily, but it has to be a certain size multifamily for it to be multifamily, and it's a little
Yeah.
confusing. So, can you kind of
Mhm.
walk us through what's going on?
For sure. And I want to say, for everybody who's not in Dallas, do not tune out. All right, because really, this is something that affects everybody in some form or fashion. It's not immediately affecting you if you're in Dallas, but as they've said in a lot of other types of situations, that not even related to this industry, an injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere. And
Hmm.
you can really bring that back to the industry. Yes, we are business owners. This is a commerce thing. It's not. I'm not saying it's the exact one-to-one of human rights, but when something unfair and unjust is happening, you better believe that this is something that is very likely to happen to you if the underlying problem isn't solved, because it's all stemming from the same reasons, the same issue. You know, the reason why they're trying to do bans anywhere around the world is pretty much the same. It's dealing with issues with neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are complaining. There's claims about affordable housing, which most of those are actually unfounded, but we are the attractive scapegoat to those claims. And again, if we're not educating, if we're not talking to the right people, the decision makers, none of this stuff is really gonna it's not gonna change. So it's just gonna happen at a later date for somebody else. So I think Dallas is a really good example of what everybody needs to be prepared for, and act on now, so that they don't have to deal with this, most likely. And so now I've said that. Now I'm going to go into a quick overview of Dallas, and then I want to hear questions, because I think that's the best way. I'm sure you guys will have questions. So for everybody who's just like edge of their seat trying to figure out what this all means, the Dallas has officially passed what is essentially a ban in Dallas, and it pretty much affects all properties that are not shared house properties, meaning where you're living in the property or it's your primary residence only. So that is what they've effectively passed. So it's technically a law now. And I would say that technically you could see it as short-term rentals mostly being banned in Dallas, but this is not confirmed, and we believe it's unlikely that this is going to stick. And so that's like the overview, and then the details kind of flow from that. So it's officially a ban, but we don't believe it's going to stick. And so I'll stop there. I mean, I'm sure you're like, well, why do you think that it's not going to stick? You know. So if that's the next question, this is how that is playing out right now. So with regards to the ban itself, this was banned in a city council meeting that was longer than almost any other city council meeting ever for Dallas. City council meetings are normally about an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours long. This literally was going from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. that day. That's how.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. You heard of those situations where they have filibusters, and like with the government closures and stuff, and you hear about, oh, they're gonna be in, I don't know, they're gonna be in the Senate for days or something like that. Like, this was almost one of those examples. It wasn't exactly a
Wow.
filibuster, but there was so
Wow.
much contested, they could not end the meeting and they could not vote until 11 p.m. that night. So this just goes to show you how contested this was. The association there did a fantastic job of advocating. They're called the Dallas STRA, and that's why it wasn't a steamroll where they just went ahead and banned it without much discussion, because this would have been likely banned over a year ago if they hadn't have been doing what they're doing. So the short-term rental hosts came with it, and the neighborhoods, like the folks that were anti-STR, and when I say neighborhoods, like certain neighborhood associations, they came with it as well, but it was like very evenly matched. And the thing is, with politicians, their whole goal is they want to be seen as good to the community, and they want to be able to get voted in again. And I'm not being cynical to any politicians or anything, but this is generally how that works. And so because of that, especially when there's nuanced issues like short-term rentals and issues that people are very unaware of the actual facts, a lot of times they'll have to do things in a nuanced way, do one thing but mean another, say one thing but mean another, a lot of kind of double speak and double actions. And that's basically what happened in this city council meeting. So, again, it was clearly extremely contested because it went on extremely long. And what they ended up doing, and it was still close votes, but they basically voted to pass the ordinance, which had been proposed over a year ago. And that was because, at the very least, they needed to show that they were, doing stuff for the people, for the neighborhoods. And that was the only example of a solution. It wasn't a good solution, obviously, because it banned almost all short-term rentals that are not primary residents. But that was all they had. So they had this, if they didn't do that, they would look like they're callous to the neighborhoods, and they don't want that. They're not going to get voted in if they do that again. So they did that, but the underlying situation here is that there's likely legal reasons why this might not be even a possible bill to actually execute. So there's lawsuits that are getting prepared right now, and I can talk about that with regards to Dallas STRA. And they're very confident that, and this is, them, the lobbyists, like the team, the team in play in general, the experts are very confident that this is going to be very effective and make this not happen, as long as they're able to get this lawsuit pushed forth. So I
Right.
guess to sum it up in the best way, they did this so that they can look good to the city at large, but they also know, most of them in the back of their minds, that this isn't over. They're going to be receiving lawsuits. This ruling is likely to be blocked, and it's not going to happen. And they're going to have to, continue having these conversations to put something in place that actually works. So yeah, I'll pause there, but
Wow.
that's the nuance. Yeah.
Wow, it's a lot there, and this is a serious issue because we all live in this follow the leader type of country, right? So if dollars get banned, it's a strong possibility that other cities, right, going to sit there
Absolutely.
and follow suit, look at what they did and
Mhm.
adapt that to sit there and get approved in other cities. So, fighting this is important. I'm happy that, there's lawsuits, and not that I'm happy about lawsuits, but I'm happy that
Right.
there are things going on in the pipeline to sit there and get this thing reversed. So just to kind of give clarity to bans and what that mean, and even if it means the same thing across the board or in different cities. So let's just say that you got a bunch of STR owners here in Dallas and they come in and obviously they ban this. Now, are
Mhm.
these STR owners grandfathered in? Are they saying, hey, if you have an SDR, you're good for today, but we're not taking on any more? Or are they saying, hey, if you have an STR today, you've been doing business here for 3 years and we're banning it, you're out?
Right. So that's a great question, and that's actually one of the things that got was extremely contested. They got literally split. Well, I guess technically not split down the middle, but almost split down the middle. They did vote in a certain side, and the side was that they didn't put in grandfathering. So nobody is grandfathered in this, but it was like a 7-8 decision, 8 in favor of not grandfathering. So
Hmm.
this would effectively be removing all of the short-term rentals that don't qualify in the new law from the platform. So, and that's a big deal. And again, that's and so that is like, I hope this really drives home the severity of what's on paper here, because if this was to just let be in play, that's what would happen. And I want to make it clear that it's not something that is hard to enforce anymore. They don't have to forcibly like find them and use the government's resources to remove them. Airbnb and the other platforms are obligated by law, their city law, and all of these other cities do the same thing now, to remove anybody who doesn't have a compliant form of identification. It's usually a license number. That's likely what they're going to use for Dallas. Meaning, so it's like everybody who who does fit in this bill will get a license number, and nobody else will. And if you don't have a license number, you're automatically kicked off. So it's like a light switch being flipped. So I want to say that if this bill were to be enforced, this would be this would be very, very bad for almost all short-term rental hosts in Dallas. Um, so yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to make it clear that like how bad it would be, and maybe we could do a little bit more. So what this does is it pretty much bans about 70% of all short-term rentals.
Mm.
The way that it does that is it's taking all of the short-term rentals out of the single-family areas that are not primary residents, and then the multifamily. They say that that's allowed, but they only allow this in multifamily with 20 units or higher in a building. So that means if you got anything less than that, you can't have any short-term rentals in there. And then even that, you can only have 3% of all the short-term rentals be, excuse me, 3% of all the units be short-term rentals. So that means if you had a 100-unit building, you could only have 3 of those be a short-term rental. So it's and actually, and so like, okay, so that gives you an idea of like how like heavy-handed this is. Um, but yeah, I want to make it clear that the 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 process now is dependent on the legal aspect of this, and that's looking very good.
Mm.
That is the piece where the bill, if the legal side works, I'm talking about just the initial stuff, not like a whole lawsuit that goes, for years, and then the end result is that there's what's called an injunction that you can do. That if that goes through, it's something that happens fairly quickly, like within, let's say, maybe a month's time or so. And then if that goes through, then it holds off that bill from being enforced or acted upon until the correct legal proceedings start happening. And again, all the powers that be know about this stuff. Like, even when they voted this in, there was even like some of the city council people being like, "Yep, we know there's going to be a lawsuit," and then one of them was like, "Yeah, bring it on!" Like, again, a lot of So a lot of I'll even say a little bit of showboating, where they want to save
Wow.
face, they want to
Wow.
look good for the community, but then they know that it's more nuanced than them just passing this overarching, or this heavy-handed bill.
So I guess from a legal perspective, so filing a lawsuit? So what are the grounds as far as a lawsuit? Like what are they challenging? And what is the like? I know you said there's a strong likelihood that it could impact, or there could be an injunction. Um,
Mhm.
but I imagine everybody's assessing risk and reward. When on the on the local, like council side, they're assessing like, okay, worst case, this is what it looks like. And I'm sure
Mhm.
on the anti banning side, they're assessing like costs. And but what are like the grounds, and what are timelines? What does that look like long term? Like from, like, let's say, best case to worst case scenario.
For sure. So I'm going to give you guys the simple aspect of this, because if you understand this, you kind of can understand how lawsuits work with regards to what matters. You don't need to be
Yeah.
a legal expert to understand what I'm saying. I'm going to give you the simple gems so you get how this works for keeping your short-term rentals going. I advise lawsuits as such. I never for mid to large size cities, so for a lot of these larger cities, these cities where most people are at, I do not advocate for doing lawsuits in the beginning. Only do a lawsuit after you've done your advocacy. Just to be super simple about it, means you actually speak with the decision makers, using the proper methods, using a lobbyist, having your association, doing all of the things to really show the decision makers who you guys really are. Do that first, and if that doesn't completely solve the problem, and you're now officially being threatened, like how this bill has been passed, and now you're looking at your properties actually being removed, then you go the lawsuit side. So I never really advocate to do lawsuits early on. So I want to make that super clear. That's how that generally works. The lawsuit is, think of it as like a tool. It's a tool to really still advocate. You're not going to solve the problem by a lawsuit alone. And so to kind of put it in another way, if Dallas had started with a lawsuit, which in a lot of ways you can't even do certain lawsuits until a ban is actually passed too. So you have even less effectiveness then. But if you started with that, you're basically you're looked at as antagonistic. None of the decision makers like that, and they don't know you yet,
Hmm.
right? You need to become known, show them who you really are, basically make friends with the ones that can be either neutral or pro short-term rentals, which there are many, and Dallas made a ton of connections with the decision makers. So you do that, and then the lawsuit is a tool for you to finish the advocacy. Let's put it like that, and finish the advocacy and the discussions on what really needs to be put into play. So lawsuits are not the whole solution. The lawsuit is a tool to finish everything that you've been doing already. So Dallas has done all of that work. They've done all of the advocacy. They've been working with decision makers, proposing different solutions, and things were like, I'm telling you, like even like the city council president had put out a separate bill that he was advocating for, but it was just too little, too late in terms of them voting on it right there. They made a ton of headway.
Mm.
They've done the best job like that I've seen really any city do. They've really crushed it. So what the lawsuit
Wow.
does,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. So the lawsuit, think of the lawsuit as a wrench in the machine. It's not something that's going to solve the whole problem, but if they're still trying to, move this forward to ban you, then you start the lawsuit so that you throw a wrench into the machine and it can't move forward, so that then you get to talk this out more. And the fact is, once that happens, if that does stop things temporarily, that also gives you leverage. It's like, okay, hey, look, this is a lawsuit issue. Clearly, this is not the way any of us want to do this. We don't want a big drag out situation. So let's actually get something sensible in place. You guys voted in this bill. You look good to the neighborhood. All right. You did your part as legislators. Now let's, actually go in behind the scenes and make this thing right. So hopefully
hey,
that kind of
let me stop you right
explains.
there, Theron.
Oh yeah, go
Let
ahead.
me chime in. So let me ask you. So, as a short-term rental owner, right?
Mhm.
And we're gonna look at this as a short-term rental owner community, right? Regardless of where
Right.
you are. You can be in Philly, you could be Dallas, California, Detroit, right? We all are owners. Now, a lot of the short-term rental owners, they have day jobs, right? W-2s. They
Exactly.
use this income to live a different life for themselves, and some people are using it as 100% their income, their livelihood. So one of their superpowers, and most of our superpowers, is not being an advocate, right? Like we don't even know what step to take. We just know how to analyze deals. We know how to up our occupancy rate. We know how to average
Exactly.
out,
Okay,
the
that is
bills
correct.
and pay that. That's our superpower. But
Right.
from a STR owner perspective, what are some of the things that we can do to support the cause of making sure that we don't get banned, in regardless to what state it's in?
Mhm. Right, and that is a extremely important point that I always try to bring home. We're here to educate, and we're here to point you guys in the right direction. What the way that this should be, and this is in every single industry. Okay, every industry has an advocacy wing that handles these problems. Let's say for you. Okay, meaning yes, there is a level of participation that we need from a minority of hosts. Okay, but that is that what you pe- most hosts cannot do their job and do an advocacy job at the same time. That's not how this works. You need an organization like us and like your local organizations, which we work with, to do this stuff on your behalf. It's time for the industry to grow up, to mature, and it's every industry gets into this point. It's just now the short-term rentals are at this point to
Mhm.
have that advocacy wing for them. So you asked a really good question, and that's the thing. We're not here to put more burden on hosts. We're here to give you the education so you can, make good business decisions. So hey, maybe you don't have to worry about certain things at all. But the other thing about not worrying about it is you need to make sure to support your local short-term rental association who is here to help with those things. That's the way to do it. And when I say support with whatever you have, whatever your superpower is. If your superpower is, hey, I'm great at the business aspect. I'm doing deals. I'm racking up a bunch of properties and I'm making money. I don't have time and I can't even like think about doing something different. Okay, well then you need to make sure that you're putting some percentage of your revenue or your profits into donating to the association, so they do that for you. That's your way of support. If you're somebody who is maybe just getting started, or they're like on a couple of properties, they have more time than money. Let's put it like that, right? Uh, what they can do is they can spread the word. They can put this in different Facebook groups, in different groups that they're in. They can volunteer to help the association. That's and I'd say those are the
So
two main
could I
parts of the.
interrupt there a little?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, could I interrupt there a little bit? So, I'm local in California, and there's rumblings of this SB 584, and as a short-term rental operator, I mean, I created a video saying no, and reach out to your local assembly people, and I sent I wrote like a letter to the local assembly person, and they said that they're one of the people that actually voted no. So that's within my district. But are there any additional steps that you would recommend? I know you said like potential like donation or whatever your superpower is that you can maybe
Mhm.
give. But if it's in the earlier stages, is there like, how do we get ahead of it so we can maybe avoid a Dallas situation?
For sure. So you're talking about the California state, we'll call it tax bill, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that I was going to get into, and I have a lot of news about that. I'll touch on this, but just to kind of keep things separate so that I don't confuse the
Yeah.
viewers and stuff like that. I'll wrap
Sure.
up Dallas, and then we'll go into the details on
Okay.
California too. But what you
Perfect.
said does link to the general question, and what you can do is, and thankfully, a lot of it is very similar to what you would do if you had something right at your doorstep, because it's really about supporting in some in some effective way in your community. So what I always tell people to do, just to start off, like this is just a great starting point in general. Look up your city or your state, and then short-term rental association. So as an example, I mean, I kind of know about a lot of this stuff already with Cali, but as an example, you type in California short-term rental association, or
Mhm.
Los Angeles short-term rental association, and then see what comes up. If nothing comes up, that means that there's no association. If it doesn't say association, if it doesn't say alliance, then there's nothing that's there. And what I would advocate for people to do, certain people, is to start one. And it's actually not hard, and it's something that you can easily pass off if you feel that it's not for you or it's too much work. You literally start a Facebook page that is either your city or your state short-term rental association, and that's a huge starting point. And then what you do is you comment in whatever Facebook groups you're in, because I know anybody who's kind of gotten in the industry at this point, they're a part of some Facebook groups, okay?
Yeah.
And there's local Facebook,
Only
right?
like 50, no big deal.
I know, right? Yeah, they're everywhere. Oh man. And the thing is, the local ones, this is a very powerful place to put this in. This is exactly how we started all of our associations and made the impact that we made. Hey, you go into the group and say, "Hey, I just started the LA Short Term Rental Association. Go ahead and like my page. I'm gonna do a Zoom event about whatever issues we're trying to solve." So, like you mentioned, the bill. It's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do a Zoom event so we can talk about this bill that's supposed to be coming up." Or if there's no bill, then it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this Zoom event about stuff affecting our community. So, what do you guys want us to go over?" I think we all know about some of the main issues that we have in our own specific communities. A lot of times they're similar, but you go to a Facebook group, especially a local one, scroll down and see what people are posting. "Oh, hey, I had a bad guest. They trashed the place. What do I do? Oh, hey, there's this event coming into town. I don't know how to prepare for it." Or, "Oh, hey, like there's does anybody have a house manual?" Like, they're screaming their problems from the rooftops. All you have to do is say, "Hey, I'm hosting a free event. Join my Zoom link. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to help solve your problems. Here's I'll give you guys a free house manual that you guys can use." This stuff works. This is how I've coached people to build their associations and have not only a platform for them to interface with the government, because that's needed. Like, that really does more than I think what a lot of people actually think. That's how you really speak to the government. You don't come as an individual. You say, "Hey, I'm representing this group of 300 other short-term rental hosts," or even if I'm representing this group of 30 short-term rental hosts. All of that is powerful, depending on the size of your city. And the thing is, you have that in place, and you just said, right, there's no bill. So that means you have time to gradually grow that. And but the beautiful part about this is it's not just free work. What you're doing is you're actually building your sphere of influence. So anybody who I've told to do this or coached them through doing this and they actually did it, if they're looking for certain business opportunities, they got them. If they wanted short-term rental management, they got more management contracts, because they're literally helping people solve a problem. They started a community, and they now are looked at as a leader of some sort in the industry. And like, that's literally, it's free marketing. How many, I'm sure y'all get. So let's pause for a second, because I know we've talked a lot about regulations. We're going to jump back. But I just want to, I got some questions for y'all.
Uh-oh.
How many times do y'all get questions about, "Hey, how do I grow my business? either where it's how do I get management clients, or how do I get short-term rental or excuse me, property owners to allow me to lease their space, or how do I buy a property and blah 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 blah. Like, how many times do you guys get that?
A
All the
lot.
time. Yeah.
Hmm.
This is literally something that could solve all of those for people. And as an example, for me, when I started my first association in Detroit called sharingdetroit.org, like, I did exactly what I said to you guys. And at the end of that fight, this was 3 to 4 months. At the end of that, I was looking for management clients, and I got 20 management clients in 2 months. Okay, I got 20 people that signed management agreements, and we were getting stuff ready in 2 months from starting this association. And I had no idea how to do that before. It was hard. I had no idea how to market. I had no idea how to access these individuals, but they're sitting right there. You just have to do a little work. It's really free marketing. So I know I kind of got a little bit off course, but like, this is what I really try and like help people understand, because if they see it as a business opportunity and not just a totally separate thing, then it's something that they realize, oh, this is really good for me and very valuable, um
Totally.
yeah. But I'll pause there. Let me know if I missed anything.
No, you're good. You're on point. And these are the conversations people don't want to have, right? Like this is the I forgot what Omi called it earlier, but this is the side that people don't want to talk about, and but you have to, and that was why I wanted to make sure Omi kind of followed up too. We want to make sure that you give us as short-term rental owners, because some people have one, two, some people have 10, 20, that we know what to do to support. So, like Omi was mentioning, we can stay ahead. So, I guess to date, just kind of from a resume perspective, I guess how many bans or
Mhm.
how much regulations have you able to overcome?
Yeah, so I put it like this. It used to be, okay, we're looking to stop bans, and we are looking to stop bans, but as I mentioned before, the main, like the real end goal is to establish sensible regulations in different cities, and really connect the community to the government. So we've done that in 10 cities, and like some notable ones are Detroit, Michigan, Ferndale, Michigan, Fayetteville, and certain cities in northern Arkansas, because they all get governed by the same county.
Mm,
Charlotte, North Carolina. We made a huge milestone in Chicago, Illinois, by connecting the association to the government there. So now they work with the government to help with short-term rental licenses and stuff like that. So and that's to name some of the main ones. And it's like, that's really the goal here, because what that does, it really helps solidify the industry, right? It's not just, okay, we stopped the ban. It's okay, now what? We want sensible regulation, so let's actually be at the table and let's all work together the right way, and then we're good forever. We constantly have that communication. So yeah, that's the main progress that we've had. And what we've also done is, to really help the cause, we've really done a ton of research on different regulations, and that's how we built the database of almost 3,000 regulations. And so that's something that we're working even more on, just getting like that, being able to help people as much as possible. So like, we use it internally, and we've also provided this data to different companies and things like that. But it's like, this is also a big deal, because guess what? If you could just search online in a reputable place about, oh, what are the full regulations here? Like, should I stay here, or should I invest here, or should I not invest here? Like, give me the bare bones. Don't give me the legalese. That would make people much more successful in this industry.
yeah.
So I guess like kind of moving along, like how do you decide on what sort of fight you're gonna put your resources into, or like what is the fight you want to choose? Because I'm sure there's quite a few, and people are reaching out to you all the time. But
So
like how do you narrow
uh,
that down?
right. So I'll explain further about what I talked about last time. So I explained how we get the information, but how we choose is like this. We really, our aim is to help everybody that we're able to help, like everybody that's coming to us and that we see has issues. And yes, there's no way that we can do that just as an organization by ourselves. So what we do is we definitely, look to take on, I guess we'll call them tentpole or large city issues, just because that's something that will reverberate to other communities as well if we make an impact there. But we don't leave small communities behind. We've directly helped in small communities. And what we do now is we have ways of doing certain things at scale, but most importantly, having a mastermind group that if somebody is really wanting to make change in that area, we help them be the leader and run the plays themselves. So that's how we've been able to affect change in different industries without us having to directly, be making the association, hosting the events, speaking with the decision makers. So yeah, that's how we do it, and that's we keep that door open. If someone is serious about building an association and making change, they can join our mastermind group, and then we can help them be the leader in their area.
That's great. That's great. That's great. And this industry is an ever growing industry, and with that, there's always going to be some change. There's always going to be some regulations, and there always need to be, like you said, that communication table where the locals need to be connected to the government so they can talk about it and see what works for everybody. And I'm happy that you're doing that. And with that being said, we definitely got to have you back on, because I'm sure that there's going to be a bunch of different things coming down the pipeline that you're going to go and bust up, right, and help bridge that gap again, to ensure that the right people are at the table to sit there and work things out. But I have a question for you. What does find your freedom means to you?
So I resonate with that so much, because I feel like that's what my whole goal has been in general. Like I mentioned, like before I became an advocacy expert, my whole goal was to find my freedom in terms of being able to do what really spoke to me as a person, versus having to clock in, have this corporate job that, yes, it's I'm not complaining. It was a great engineering job, but it didn't ignite my passions, the things that I was doing. So every day felt like a big work day, whereas I can work all the time. And I'm glad short-term rentals has been able to support me, but it's also like, oh, every day doesn't feel like a work day. It feels like, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. Let's get out there. No matter what happens to a property, it's like, okay, hey, I'm in it. I love it. So to sum it up even better, finding your freedom, I feel like it's really being able to do what you want to do, and be of service to others, and not be unfairly blocked in doing that process. That's what I went through with stopping, with coming, what's the word, with running into regulations and then having to figure out how to stop it. That allowed me to find my freedom, because now I feel like wherever I go, wherever I invest, I am confident that there will be sensible regulations if they're not there already. So I want that for everybody.
No, that's beautiful. I think it's being able to impact others, and when you're not in a council meeting and you're not saving somebody, where do people find you? How can they connect with you?
So I'm really easy to visit. You just head up to Antarctica. You hit up the Fortress of Solitude. That's yeah. We're working on getting the name of that street changed, but that's where I'm at, Fortress of Solitude way. But no, in all seriousness, you can find me on strhero.com, and you can reach out to me at my name, Theron, at thestrhero.com. You can also type in info at thestrhero.com. But the best way, just reach out to my email directly, Theron at thestrhero.com. THERON.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And it's great. It's been great. So how we like to end our shows, we like to end our show with the big boom. Now we have the STR hero here. So with that being said, that means this boom got to be the biggest boom thus far that we have. Because
Oh,
if you're going to be a hero, and got it's the whole Superman outfit, I'm telling you, if you weren't at that event, that STR event, the doors came flying open. It was like the perfect storm because it was extremely windy outside. So when they opened
yeah.
the door, it kind of flew open, right?
Oh man, see,
And then when he was walking,
serendipity.
he's a big dude, and his cape was like in the air. It was
Man,
pretty darn dramatic and interesting. Like, I
that's
really
why
was like,
I've
wow, he
heard
got like a
yeah, I've heard things like that before, and I started to get used to it. I don't even because the cape's behind me all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, oh this whole thing, oh yeah, it's be flowing around, But no, man. See,
That's funny.
that's why we love doing what we do and doing things like this because if we garner that attention for the industry for advocacy, that means we've done the right thing. We want
Yep.
people to know that
Excellent.
we can save you guys and that they can also be
Boom.
heroes too. And one real quick thing,
Sweet.
before we do this boom, I think this could be a good header to this boom because this is what makes me feel really good. Guys, we talked about Dallas and we talked about California. And so, with Dallas, anybody who wants to support, and I really urge that you support them, please go to dallasSTRA.org and either reach out to them and support them that way or donate, which is what they need the most. They are trying to build this legal fund so that they can put this injunction in place. And, this is, if you want to be of help to the industry, this is the way to do it. Because even if you're not in Dallas, a victory here is a victory everywhere. That's going to help everybody else. They see more examples of great success in this industry. And real quick, Omid, I want to tell you, because I know you were worried about this. So the Cali bill, let's say this, the bill is still, it's still around, but and this is directly from this is from higher ups at Airbnb. We talk all the time. This is something that has been turned into a 2-year review. So it likely might not even be coming out until next year. And even then, it might not go through. Now, that does not mean that, just breathe easy, don't worry about it anymore. That means you guys are safe for now and have time to make it to where this never comes back. I saved the best for
Awesome.
last.
All right. So what we're going to there you
No,
go.
I love that.
There we go.
No, I love that.
That's the way you do it right there, right? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're gonna say boom, kind of in a uniform manner as loud as we can. Everybody ready? Thumbs up. Give me thumbs up if you're ready. All right, I'm seeing the thumbs up. All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Awesome. Check
Was
this
that
out. We
good?
just had
I can do
another
it again. I did
amazing
like a sonic
episode
boom.
of
Y'all did a
Find Your Freedom.
long boom. I
And
want to make sure I'm doing it
here
right.
at Find Your Freedom, we have guests
did.
and we have friends, but Theron is definitely a friend here to the show, and it's very
Thank you.
important to support your local associations because once again, just like he said, if we get a win in a state that you are not in, that's a win for all of us because we don't have to worry about our state, our local government, our county, our township tagging on to something that passed somewhere else. So, regardless if it's donations, if it's one of your superpowers, get involved, reach out to your local agencies, and make sure you support so we can ensure that we can continue on with these short-term rentals and we don't have to worry about bans coming through. Now, what we need you to do is listen to this episode, and when you do, we need you to leave an honest 5-star review. This is the way that we get more Therons here, STR heroes, so we can give you more information, so you could be that much more prepared, for the industry or just any and everything that you want to do. And we need you to share this with all your friends. Share this with your mom, your uncle, your aunt, your sister, your brother. Share it with all your coworkers, the ones you like and the ones you don't like. Until the next episode of Find Your Freedom, we talk to you soon. Peace.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Find Your Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, please help us spread the word by leaving a rating and review and sharing the podcast with friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, get out there and find your freedom.